Torture is fairly common in the Star Wars universe. In fact, each one of the original trilogy movies has a torture scene in it. A New Hope has Leia in the interrogator droid, The Empire Strikes Back has Han Solo in the scan grid, and Return of the Jedi has Palpatine torturing Luke Skywalker with Force lightning. Today we're going to Star Wars Legends to look at what is, at least in my mind, the worst torture method ever used. Hey guys, this is EckhartsLadder. Hello and welcome to another Star Wars Legends lore video. Today, as I mentioned in the introduction, we're talking about torture. Quite a ghastly topic of conversation, but perhaps timely given Halloween is just around the corner. Before we get into the content, I just want to apologize. Today's video is going to be fairly short. I've got some stuff I need to do, I've got some obligations. If you want to learn more, you can follow me on Twitter, but I'm sorry, we'll get a long video in the coming days. To understand today's video, we have to go all the way back to the Truce at Bakura. In universe, this was one of the first major events faced by the New Republic after the Rebel Alliance's defeat of the Empire at the Battle of Endor. During the invasion of Bakura, an unknown regions race known as the Ssi Ruu attempted to invade and conquer the galaxy at large. The Ssi Ruu were a very unique race within the Star Wars universe. Obviously, they looked like dinosaurs and were quite fearsome both in appearances and in fighting style. They also had a strong fleet which was powered in a very unique way, through the life forces of living beings. The Ssi Ruu ships, which are typically fairly large, well-armed, and oblong-shaped, were powered off the life forces of slaves hooked up to Entechment machines. Entechment was the process in which the Ssi Ruu drained the life force from a living being. Specifically, a person would be strapped down to a machine known as an Entechment chair. They would be restrained very tightly, and an electrical field would be used to shock the body of the victim. Technically, this isn't, or at least its primary purpose, was not a torture method. However, the results were still very, very painful on the person having their life force drained. For that reason, the Ssi Ruu would typically not use the process on their own species. Rather, their ships were often fitted with tractor beams, which they would use to capture ships and find new prisoners to use as Entechment. Basically, to make things clear, the Ssi Ruu used living things, often humans because they were good sources of energy, to power their ships and other technology. There were a few things that made this technique so awful. The first was that while in the Entechment machine, you were in continual pain. The total time you're in pain because you have the life force being stolen from your body. And perhaps more obviously, because you're being continually shocked by an electrical field. The second thing that makes this process so torturous and so painful and awful is because once you enter the Entechment process, there's really no escape. It's not like torture, traditional torture, where once they extract the information from you, they might let you live or at least kill you. The Ssi Ruu, once they've hooked you up, are going to want to squeeze you for every bit of energy that they can get, just to keep as efficient as possible. The creatures are also very cold, they don't show much compassion towards other races, and really it seems like they turn a fairly blind eye to the pain caused by the machines. Often and unsurprisingly, those strapped up to Entechment machines would eventually develop psychosis. However, with the help of a Jedi Knight, the Ssi Ruu could prolong this almost indefinitely. As the Ssi Ruu became more advanced with their technology, they were even able to develop processes to stop the Entech people from dying. This means that for the foreseeable future, as long as your body holds out, which could be a very long time, you experience nothing but the feeling of being trapped and extreme pain. It is true that some could break out of the process, especially if they had the help of the Force, but for the average person caught by the Ssi Ruu and Entech, you are in for a terrible, terrible experience, and in my mind, one of, if not the, worst methods of torture in the Star Wars Legends universe. With that, I do note that there were various other very terrible methods of torture, and users of the dark side especially were adept at creating painful situations for their victims. One of my favorite dark side torture methods appears in the Lando Calrissian trilogy. It's known as the Mind Walk. In that, the victim is forced to relive the worst memories of their lives, with the pain amplified. Droids, especially those with medical training, were also very potent torturers. They could cut off limbs, inflict damage, introduce poison, burns, shocks, etc., all while keeping the victim alive. but I still think that all of these methods lack the longevity and really the true horror that the Ssi Ruu's Entechment method brings with it. But that's just my opinion. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Is Entechment really that bad? Am I properly classifying it as a torture method, or is its purpose really something else? Also, of course, let me know whether you like this video and if you have any suggestions for future episodes. Anyways, thanks again for watching, guys. This has been your host, EckhartsLadder. May the Force be with you.